Welcome to Retirement Watch. I'm Michael Bennett, and today we are covering a topic that directly affects tens of millions of Americans, yet remains one of the most poorly understood areas of Social Security law. Social Security benefits for divorced individuals and for widows and widowers. If you went through a divorce or if you have lost a spouse, there is a very real possibility that you are entitled to Social Security benefits you do not know about. Benefits that could add hundreds of dollars to your monthly income. And there is also a very real possibility that decisions you make or have already made about remarriage, about when to file, about which benefit to claim first, could be costing you money that you will never recover. That is what we are here to address today, clearly, calmly, and based entirely on official Social Security Administration rules and verified federal sources. As always, I am not a financial advisor, I am not an attorney, and I am not affiliated with any government agency. My role is strictly educational. Everything I share today comes from publicly available official sources. The Social Security Administration, SSA.gov. The Social Security Fairness Act, signed into law January 5th, 2025, and verified federal guidance. For your personal situation, I always encourage you to contact the Social Security Administration directly or consult a qualified professional. Let's start with divorced spouses. If your marriage ended in divorce, the Social Security Administration has a set of rules that may allow you to claim benefits based on your former spouse's earnings record, even if you haven't worked enough to qualify for a meaningful benefit on your own, even if your former spouse has remarried, and even if your former spouse doesn't know you're claiming. That last point surprises many people. Your former spouse is not notified when you file a claim on their record. Their own benefit is not reduced in any way. Multiple people, including a current spouse and one or more ex-spouses, can each claim benefits based on the same worker's record simultaneously, with no impact on any of the others. But you must meet specific criteria to qualify. First, the marriage must have lasted at least 10 years. This is a hard threshold. 9 years and 11 months does not qualify. 10 years means 10 full years from the date of marriage to the date the divorce became legally final. The Social Security Administration uses exact dates, so the precision of this requirement matters. Second, you must currently be unmarried. If you have remarried, you cannot claim on your former spouse's record while that subsequent marriage is in effect. However, and this is important, if that subsequent marriage ends, whether through divorce, annulment, or the death of your second spouse, your eligibility based on your original ex-spouse's record may be restored. Third, you must be at least 62 years old. Fourth, your former spouse must be eligible for Social Security retirement or disability benefits. They do not have to be currently collecting. If you have been divorced for at least 2 years, you can file a claim even if your ex-spouse has not yet begun receiving benefits. If the divorce occurred less than 2 years ago, you generally must wait until your former spouse has filed. Now, what is the benefit amount you can receive? As a divorced spouse, the maximum benefit you can receive based on your former spouse's record is 50% of their full retirement age benefit. This is the same cap that applies to a currently married spouse. And like a married spouse, if you claim before your own full retirement age, which is 67 for most people today, your benefit will be permanently reduced. Claiming at 62 instead of your full retirement age will reduce your divorced spouse benefit by approximately 30 to 35%. There is also something the Social Security Administration calls deemed filing that I want you to understand because it affects your options. If you are eligible for both your own retirement benefit and a divorced spouse benefit, the SSA will automatically pay whichever is higher. But you cannot selectively claim one while letting the other grow. Both benefits are evaluated at the same time when you file. You receive only the higher of the two amounts, not both. There is one exception to the deemed filing rule that is specific to divorced individuals, and that creates a meaningful strategic opportunity. If your former spouse has died, the rules change significantly, and I will cover that in detail shortly when we discuss survivor benefits. Let me also address a common misconception about the divorced spouse benefit and your former spouse's claiming decision. The amount you receive as a divorced spouse is based on your former spouse's primary insurance amount. That is, their benefit at full retirement age, regardless of when they actually filed. If your ex-spouse claimed early at 62 and received a reduced benefit, your divorced spouse benefit is still calculated from their full retirement age amount. Your benefit is not reduced because they chose to file early. However, there is another situation that has historically harmed many divorced spouses, particularly those who worked in government, education, or public safety, and that changed significantly in January 2025. For decades, a provision called the Government Pension Offset, or GPO, reduced or completely eliminated Social Security spousal and survivor benefits for individuals who also received a pension from a government job not covered by Social Security. These included teachers in certain states, police officers, firefighters, federal employees under the older civil service retirement system, and others. The GPO reduced Social Security benefits by 2/3 of the government pension amount. In many cases, it eliminated the benefit entirely. A widow with a $2,400 per month government pension could have had her entire survivor benefit wiped out, receiving $0 from Social Security despite having earned that benefit through her marriage. On January 5th, 2025, President Biden signed the Social Security Fairness Act into law. This law permanently repealed the government pension offset and a companion provision called the windfall elimination provision. That repeal is effective retroactively to January 2024. The Social Security Administration distributed approximately $17 billion in retroactive payments to affected beneficiaries by mid-2025. The Congressional Budget Office estimated that the repeal of GPO alone increased monthly benefits by an average of $700 for those claiming on a living spouse's record, and by an average of $1,190 for surviving spouses who had previously received a widow or widower benefit. If you are a divorced or widowed individual who receives a government pension and you believed you were not eligible for Social Security spousal or survivor benefits because of GPO, that rule no longer applies. If you have not yet filed a claim with the Social Security Administration, I encourage you to contact SSA directly at 1-800-772-1213 or visit ssa.gov to determine what you may now be entitled to receive. If you were already receiving benefits that were reduced by GPO, the SSA has been processing recalculations. However, as Government Executive reported in March 2026, some individuals are still waiting for their full retroactive payments. And there have been procedural disputes about the extent of retroactive eligibility for certain claimants. If you believe your benefit has not been fully recalculated, contact the SSA and request a review. Now, let's move to the rules that apply when a former spouse or current spouse has died, the survivor benefit rules, because these rules are different from divorced spouse rules in ways that matter enormously to your financial planning. When a spouse or former spouse dies, Social Security survivor benefits become available. And these are fundamentally different from the spousal benefits we just discussed in three critical ways. First, the benefit amount is different. As a divorced spouse or married spouse claiming on a living partner's record, the maximum is 50% of the worker's full retirement age benefit. When the worker dies, the maximum survivor benefit rises to 100% of what the deceased was receiving at death or would have received at full retirement age. This is not a small distinction. It is the difference between receiving half of your former spouse's benefit and receiving all of it. Second, the claiming age is different. For retirement and divorced spouse benefits, the earliest you can file is age 62. For survivor benefits, the earliest you can file is age 60. If you are disabled, survivor benefits can begin as early as age 50. This 2-year earlier eligibility window is unique to survivor benefits and exists nowhere else in Social Security. Third, and this is perhaps the most strategically important difference, deemed filing does not apply to survivor benefits. Let me explain why that matters. With retirement benefits and spousal benefits, if you file for one, you are deemed to have filed for all benefits you are eligible for, and you receive only the highest amount. You cannot choose to claim one benefit while letting another grow, but survivor benefits are treated differently. You can choose to file for your survivor benefit while leaving your own retirement benefit untouched and growing. Or you can file for your own retirement benefit first and switch to your survivor benefit later. This flexibility is unique to survivors, and it creates a powerful sequencing strategy. Here is how that strategy works in practice. Suppose you are a widow and you are 62 years old. Your own retirement benefit at age 62 is $1,400 per month. Your survivor benefit, if you claimed it right now at 62, would be reduced because claiming before your full retirement age permanently reduces the survivor benefit by up to 28.5%. But your survivor benefit at your full retirement age of 67 would be $2,700 per month. Your own retirement benefit at age 70, if you let it grow through delayed retirement credits, would be $2,500 per month. In this scenario, the optimal strategy is to claim your survivor benefit at your full retirement age of 67 to receive the full $2,700 and never switch to your own benefit because your survivor benefit remains higher. You receive $2,700 per month for life. Alternatively, if your own retirement benefit at 70 would exceed your survivor benefit, the strategy can be reversed. Claim your survivor benefit early at age 60 to receive income during that window, while your own retirement benefit continues to grow with delayed retirement credits. Then switch to your own higher benefit at 70. This switching strategy is one of the most powerful tools available to widows and widowers, and it is one of the most commonly overlooked. A 2024 case study published by Sensible Money illustrated a widow named Diane, who was advised by a Social Security office representative to wait until 66 to receive her full survivor benefit, technically accurate advice. But the representative did not address the restricted application strategy. Had Diane claimed her survivor benefit at 62 and switched to her own retirement benefit at 70, she would have received approximately $200,000 more in lifetime income. That kind of missed opportunity is not rare. It happens regularly because the rules are complex and because SSA representatives, while helpful, do not always provide personalized strategic guidance. I want to be very clear. I am not telling you what to do. I am not a financial planner. What I am telling you is that this flexibility exists in the law, that it has real financial consequences, and that it is worth understanding before you file. Now let me cover the specific eligibility rules for survivor benefits, because they have a few important differences from divorced spouse rules that you need to know. For widows and widowers who were married to the deceased at the time of death, Your marriage must generally have lasted at least 9 months before your spouse passed away. This is a shorter requirement than the 10-year rule for divorced spouses. There are exceptions to the 9-month requirement for accidental death, death in military service, or if you were previously married to the same person. For divorced surviving spouses, that is, individuals whose former spouse has died, the 10-year marriage requirement applies, the same as for the divorced spouse benefit on a living ex-spouse's record. Now, regarding the amount of the survivor benefit. This depends on what your deceased spouse was actually receiving at death, which in turn depends on when they filed. If your spouse claimed early at 62, for example, and received a permanently reduced benefit, your survivor benefit is based on that reduced amount. On the other hand, if your spouse delayed filing past full retirement age and earned delayed retirement credits, your survivor benefit inherits those credits. A spouse who waited until 70 to file can increase their survivor's eventual benefit by as much as 77% compared to claiming at 62. This is why financial planners emphasize that the higher earner in a couple should consider delaying their own benefit as long as possible, because that decision directly determines the floor of the survivor benefit for whichever spouse outlives the other. There is one critically important planning rule about survivor benefits that I want to state as plainly as possible, because I hear from beneficiaries who have been hurt by not knowing it. If you are widowed and you remarry before age 60, you permanently lose your eligibility for survivor benefits based on your deceased spouse's record. The cutoff is your 60th birthday. If you remarry at age 60 or later, your survivor benefit is fully preserved. The new marriage has no effect on your eligibility whatsoever. This is a rule that has genuinely altered the financial trajectory of people's retirement. Someone who remarried at 59 instead of waiting until 60 may have forfeited hundreds of dollars per month in survivor benefits for the rest of their life. I am not suggesting anyone should make life decisions purely for financial reasons, but the financial implications of this rule are significant enough that anyone who is widowed and considering remarriage before age 60 should be aware of it and discuss it with a qualified advisor before proceeding. And for divorced individuals considering remarriage more broadly, remarrying ends your right to claim benefits on your former spouse's record while that marriage is in effect. It does not permanently eliminate it if that subsequent marriage ends, but it does interrupt it. Know the rule before you make that decision. Let me also address the earnings test, because it affects beneficiaries who are still working and receiving Social Security. If you are below your full retirement age and you receive a Social Security benefit, whether your own, a divorced spouse benefit, or a survivor benefit, and you continue to earn income from work, your benefits may be temporarily reduced if your earnings exceed certain thresholds. In 2026, if you are below full retirement age for the full year, the earnings limit is $24,480. Social Security will withhold $1 in benefits for every $2 you earn above that limit. In the year you reach your full retirement age, the limit increases to $65,160, with $1 withheld for every $3 above that amount. Once you reach full retirement age, there is no earnings limit. You can earn as much as you want with no reduction to your benefits. I want to emphasize that benefits withheld because of the earnings test are not permanently lost. The Social Security Administration recalculates your benefit upward at full retirement age to account for the months it withheld payments. However, the recalculation happens over time, so the short-term reduction is real. Let me close with practical steps that I want every divorced individual and every widow or widower watching this video to take. Step 1, create or access your account at my Social Security or available at ssa.gov. This account shows your earnings history, your estimated retirement benefit at various claiming ages, and the status of any claims you have filed. It is free, it is official, and it is the starting point for understanding your full benefit picture. Step 2. If you are divorced and your marriage lasted at least 10 years, contact the Social Security Administration to find out what benefit you may be entitled to based on your former spouse's record. You do not need your former spouse's cooperation or their Social Security number to do this. SSA can look up the record using your former spouse's name and date of birth. Step 3. If you are widowed or if you are a divorced individual whose former spouse has died, understand that survivor benefits follow different rules from spousal benefits and that you have genuine strategic flexibility in how you sequence your benefits. Before you file, understand both options. Compare your estimated survivor benefit and your own retirement benefit at multiple claiming ages. This comparison is worth the time. Step 4. If you are a public sector retiree, a teacher, a government worker, a police officer, a firefighter, someone who received a government pension, and you believed that the government pension offset prevented you from receiving spousal or survivor benefits, that law was repealed in January 2025. Contact the Social Security Administration to find out what you are now entitled to receive and whether you have unclaimed retroactive payments. Step 5. If you are widowed and considering remarriage before your 60th birthday, understand the survivor benefit implications before you proceed. Step 6. For navigating these rules in the context of your specific situation, contact your state Health Insurance Assistance Program, SHIP, at shiphelp.org or call the Social Security Administration directly at 1-800-772-1213. SSA also has local field offices where you can speak with a representative in person. Survivor benefit claims in particular must be filed by phone or in person. They cannot be completed online. The official sources for everything covered in today's video are the Social Security Administration at ssa.gov, the Social Security Fairness Act of 2025, Public Law 118-176, the Social Security Trustees 2026 Annual Report, GrantsForSeniors.org's May 2026 Survivor and Spousal Guide, and Sensible Money's analysis of survivor claiming strategies. All links are in the description below. I'm Michael Bennett. Retirement Watch exists for one reason: helping seniors understand their benefits. If today's video clarified something you were uncertain about, share it with a friend, a family member, or anyone you know who has been divorced or who has lost a spouse. These are rules that affect real income for real people, and knowing them matters. Subscribe, turn on your notifications, and I will see you in the next one.